Alright, so we're going to do dividing polynomials, and we're going to do long division first, because long division always works, but it's a pain in the rear end. Long division just looks like you learned in like 4th grade, I think. Well, you got to get pen first. Hello, pen. Let's go ahead while I'm getting my purple pen, give a shout out to Tava, because Tava has not got her shout out yet. So that's for you, Tava. Brandon, I'll get you later. Alright, so we're going to take and divide 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus 10 divided by x minus 2. And I want to make sure that these are going in what's called descending order. So I've got an x cubed term and an x squared term, but notice there's no x term. I'm going to leave a little space, or I'm actually going to write this as plus 0x and then plus 10. Otherwise, things might not line up. So you want to make sure they go in descending order. This is missing an x term. Then we do the little house here. And then outside, we're going to put x minus 2. So there's our division setup. Okay, so then you ask yourself, I wonder what I can multiply times x to get to 3x cubed. So that missing factor would be 3x squared. Now don't worry about the minus 2. That's just going to come along for the ride. So we put that missing factor in the top, and then we back multiply. We're going to distribute this through. 3x squared times x is 3x cubed. 3x squared times negative 2 is negative 6x squared. And you line them up, like common terms. And then we subtract. That's the next step in dividing. Please put parentheses around here so you don't make a sign mistake. So we'll put a little bar here. 3x cubed minus 3x cubed is 0. That's why we did that. Now 4x squared minus negative 6x squared is 10x squared. Notice how I put that parentheses there, or I might have made a sign mistake there. 4 minus negative 6 is 10. Then you bring down your next term, which here I've got it as plus 0x. You're going to probably see why I did that in just a minute. So bring down our next term, and then we're going to ask ourselves, what is the missing factor to multiply together with x to get to 10x squared? And that answer is positive 10x. So when we multiply these through, I'm going to get 10x times x, which is 10x squared. And then 10x times negative 2 is negative 20x. And now you see why we needed that x term. If I didn't have that here in my dividend, I would have the 20x next to the 10, and it wouldn't line up. So that's why we wanted to go in descending order. Now we subtract. And 10x squared minus 10x squared is 0. And then 0x minus negative 20x is positive 20x. And we bring down our next term, which is our plus 10. So let's do this again. What times x, or what's the missing factor to multiply with x to get to 20x? And that answer is plus 20. Multiply back through. 20 times x is 20x. 20 times negative 2 is negative 40. And then we subtract. Put parentheses. And when we subtract here, we get 50. Now, 50 is our remainder. We're not going to write remainder 50. We are going to write this as plus 50 divided by x minus 2. So it's a remainder over divisor, and that is our quotient. Okay? So that is long division. All right, now we're going to do, go through here, I'm going to do synthetic division. Synthetic division will work if you are dividing by a divisor that's just a 1x. Well, it doesn't have to be 1x, it could be other things, but it needs to be linear. In other words, you can't use synthetic division if you're dividing by like an x squared or an x cubed or something like that. So now the whole trick to synthetic division is you take your divisor and you set it equal to 0, and that gives you a value for x. And this is going to be a value that I'm going to put in a little box. So you put that, you set the divisor equal to 0, you put that number in a little box, and then you look at the coefficients of your dividend, and you put the coefficients in order from left to right. Make sure it goes descending order, like x squared, x, and then a number. So I'll put a 4, and a negative 12, and a 9. Synthetic division is a lot cleaner than long division because it gets rid of all your x's, and it magically works. Okay, then we're going to leave a space here, because I'm going to put numbers here. We're going to draw a bar, and then what we're going to do first is we're going to take this first coefficient of 4 and we're going to drop it below the line. That's the first step. And the next step is we are going to multiply this negative 1/2 times that 4, and we're going to put that answer right here underneath the negative 12. So negative 1/2 times 4 is negative 2. So we put that right there underneath negative 12, and then you add. Negative 12 plus negative 2 is negative 14. Then we lather, rinse, and repeat. Do the same process. Multiply the negative 1/2 times the negative 14. And we're going to put that product right here. So negative 1/2 times negative 14 is 7. And we add. 9 plus 7 is 16. And this is what we have created. This is our quotient. But we got to put our x's back in. Now we divided an x squared by an x. And so that means that our quotient should be an x term. You know, if I would have divided an x cubed by an x, this would be an x squared term. Or if I would have divided an x to the 5th by an x, this would be an x to the 4th term. So my answer for my quotient is 4x minus 14. We're going in descending order. This 16, this is the remainder. So I'm going to write this as remainder over divisor. And that is my quotient. Okay, let's see here. Let's try that again. We're going to do synthetic division. You'll probably prefer to do this, and you can use this anytime your divisor is linear. So I've got x minus 3 here. So what you're going to do is set x minus 3 equal to 0. And this number is going to be what you put in the little box. So we're going to put a 3 in a box, and then we're going to do the coefficient straight across, making sure it goes in descending order. Notice here these go to the 4th, to the 3rd, and I'm missing a squared term. So I'm going to put a 0 as a placeholder for that. So I've got 1x to the 4th minus 3x cubed plus 0x squared plus 3x plus 1. So put those straight across. Leave a space, do a little bar. Okay, let's drop this 1 down. So the first step is you just bring down the first coefficient and then we multiply. 3 times 1 is 3. We put that product right there and then we add. Negative 3 plus 3 is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 plus 0 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 1 plus 9 is 10. Multiply, add, multiply, add. And this is our answer. Now, I took an x to the 4th and I divided by an x. So this first term is going to be an x cubed. 1x cubed plus 0x squared plus 0x plus 3 with a remainder of 10. So we write this as remainder over divisor. And that is our answer. Okay. So I don't think we need to see synthetic division anymore. Those are just some answers that I had. Did we get this one right? Oh well. I have a lot of extra ones, and I have the answers there, but I don't think we need to see any more of those. So anyway, I will see you guys on Monday.